Hey, welcome to A Game for Your Thoughts. Today we're talking about Sleeping Dogs. So Sleeping Dogs is an open world Chinese triad slash mafia GTA open style game. And it's really awesome as it follows Wei Shen, a police officer who has to get into the Chinese triads and work his way up through the groups and slowly take out members as he works his way up. But as he gets further in, he has to balance his loyalty to the police and also his growing power within the triad groups. I actually super enjoyed the story of this game as it really set this game apart from other games of its type. It was fun following a cop investigating into the things, and it was cool to just see the way he got into it. And it starts out pretty innocent enough, and it's a little tension filled of like, oh no, he's gonna get caught, and he gets himself out of some pretty sticky situations, and it's great. But as he gets further into it, it becomes a little bit more emotional. It's a little bit more of an intimate story of Wei Shen and his connection into the triads and just his balancing loyalties. It's really cool, and I really enjoyed it. This was all just something really cool and fun compared to the usual GTA style thing where you're just a criminal doing criminal things, but now you're a good guy doing criminal things for good guy reasons. It was just a neat balance that was fun and something I'd never really seen myself in the triad mafia style GTA games. Well, a lot of the main characters are just big Chinese guys wearing white shirts with tons of tattoos. There was a lot of the main characters that had just enough personality to make them stand out a bit more than everyone else. Certainly it seems very kind of crowded with a lot of them seeming very similar to each other, and it kind of gets confusing at first keeping track of everyone because they look, like I said, they're all giant Chinese guys with tattoos and white shirts, and it just kind of gets really confusing. But as the story goes on and the characters add a little bit more personality and get a little bit more personal with Wei and his situation, it does make everybody seem a little bit more important, and some stand out more than others, and I thought that was cool. One thing that would have made the story even better is if they had like a multiple endings or branching pathways. If certain places you made choices or your gameplay style reflects on the situation, if it played into the story, if there was different endings based on what you did or said. And I thought that would have been actually really cool, and it was definitely kind of setting up to be that way, but then just kind of wraps up, which I thought the ending was okay because it tied everything up and it left, like, oh, there could be more, but also Wei Shen's story feels pretty tight, and I thought it was fine. It just would have been really cool to see more to it and also see it branch out in different directions and have like kind of like a police ending and then like a triad ending just to see just different things play out. I thought that would have been awesome. Having that branching path does seem like a little cliched and standard, but this game I think could have actually benefited from it, and I wish it would have done that. But what we got, I really did enjoy. The story here was fun, enjoyable. Wei Shen's character and just the situations he got himself in were really cool and interesting, and the ways he just got himself out of it just worked out just a little too well, but was very smart and sneaky, and it just was well done. I thought it was an executed story that played out well into what it was trying to do, and it just did something different for this genre of game. The general gameplay of Sleeping Dogs is going to seem very familiar to anyone who's played a GTA game. You have a big open world with tons of cars, pedestrians, and events to kill your time with, and it's just all super enjoyable. But I feel like Sleeping Dogs does a lot of very little things to make it stand out and go just a little bit in a different direction than your standard GTA title. I really did enjoy the smooth driving combat. I really did enjoy the smooth driving system, the sweet combat, and the freeform melee combat was actually some really good standouts to this game. There's tons of also side activities and collectibles for you to find around the world, which I thought was really cool. And the missions inside the game have tons of variety. There's always something cool and different going on. Whether it seems like pretty familiar in terms of what you're doing, the way it's presented and executed is done very well and super enjoyable and tons of fun to play through. There's tons of little side quests around the world following characters you come across in the main story and kind of continuing a story along with them, or just random events that happen throughout the world. And it's fun to play along with these and just see what cool situations pop up. They're fun little mini games that sometimes can get into, like bugging someone's house. You have to like tune the frequencies and like unscrew and screw back on the vent, and just like little things like that. It's just cool and different, and I like how it all played into the main story and also into the side gameplay. It just balanced it really well and used everything very comfortably. I really feel like this gameplay is all about the little things. One of my most favorite things is that as you're driving around, if there's a car you see or certain sections in the main story, you have to jump from one car to the next, and you can totally do that where you're driving and you jump out of your car onto the other car, rip the driver out, and take off. I thought that was a really cool mechanic that was fun to play in the story, as it led to some cool action sequences. But then you can also do it in the real world as you're just driving around. You see fun cars or money trucks that you can use to gain more income. Just fun things like that. It was a cool little mechanic that actually changed a whole lot of the dynamic in the way that you interacted with the other people on the road. There's also the minor parkour system that's really just tapping A at just the right moment. It's super simple and honestly not that engaging, but it made it interesting enough and made for some cool little running sections through the main story, or if you wanted a quick getaway on foot, there was some fun parkour lines lines hidden around the town. And it's just neat that they weren't specifically for the story moments. You come across these lines as you're going through like little side quests or as you're just exploring the world. It's fun to come across these parkour moments. They weren't like a big and crazy awesome thing within the story, but it's used well enough that it's just a small thing that makes things just a touch more interesting. One of this game's greatest strong suits is its free-form fighting combat system. It's going to seem familiar to anyone who's played a Batman Arkham game, but it's going to turn it in just the right direction that makes it just different enough, especially with the environmental takedowns. Those were great as you could grapple an enemy, run them over to a phone booth, and then beat them to death with the phone. Or you like have like a stall that you slam the door down on them and crush them, or just like crazy things like that. And they get pretty gory and pretty violent very quickly, and I actually really did appreciate it as it added a touch of excitement to the kind of repetitive fighting, but it felt fresh every single time. It did a lot of the same mechanics, and you get like new moves, and it's cool to try these new moves out, but a lot of the environmental takedowns is what makes this interesting, as each place you fight in has new environmental takedowns, and it was cool just to try them all out and see which ones you like best and just which ones were just the more gruesome and just interesting. It was fun, cool, and different. The shooting mechanics in this game are very smooth. It moves very nicely, and it's very fluid system that plays well into more of the world. You can jump over objects and activate like a slow motion mode that lets you get some really cool headshots, and it's just super cinematic and interesting, but also the environments are played really well that it sets up for some really cool shootouts with enemy players, and it's just neat and just super cool system. Well, outside of the story, it feels very limiting, as in the story you're getting all these cool different weapons and guns and things to use in your fighting, but outside of the main story, it's really hard to come by any weapons of any sort, and they feel kind of limitedly used, as you kind of get caught in a weird spot where you just run out of ammo very quickly and there's no weapon shops of any kind. So in the main story, it's awesome and very well used. Outside of it, I really would have loved to be able to have a little bit more accessibility in terms of the weapons and the guns that you can get in the game. The city of Hong Kong has tons of collectibles for you to track down. There's healing shrines, there's cash places, there's drug busts, there's just tons of other cool things that you can do. And one thing I really liked, as you're driving around, these things flash a bright light to kind of catch your attention. So if you're driving, you can hurry and stop, run out, and do a little prayer at the shrine. I thought that was great, as it just caught your attention, and then it didn't make it so you missed things all the time. You had to really go back through and comb over everything, as it made it a little bit more obvious. Some people might not appreciate this, as it takes a little way of the hide and seek aspect of it, but I liked it as it just helped me identify things easier, and it didn't really feel so much of like a chore. It just kind of felt like a fun thing to kind of stop real quick and get some more health or find some more cash, just things to kind of occupy your time, and I thought that was neat. Playing dress up with your character is super easy, as there is so much cosmetics in this game, and this is actually fueled by the face level system, and I liked this as you complete small objectives and little side quests you add to your face level, which is kind of like a morality meter, but not really. It's kind of more like a popularity meter. That's a better way to describe it, because as you have more popularity in your face level, you can get more cosmetic items. You can get cooler suits and cars and weapons and just things like that to make your character look cooler, and I thought that was neat, as it didn't really, well, actually it does play into the gameplay, as you have the face meter that fills up during combat, which makes enemies more scared of you and less aggressive, and you can perform cooler takedowns. So it actually does play into the gameplay, which is super cool, as it doesn't just feel like a cosmetic thing, and it does play into like learning new moves in terms of your fighting and different abilities in terms of the gunplay and the driving things. I just thought it was a really cool face level system that was super simple, but used in a very cool, efficient way that actually feels beneficial. The graphics of Sleeping Dogs have aged actually pretty well, and I do think that the world of Hong Kong and the characters you come across still look pretty great. I was fully immersed in the world, and I really enjoyed driving around and just seeing the different sceneries and the varied locations, and also coming across a wide variety of different characters that actually all look and are voice act very well. In the end, Sleeping Dogs may come across as another GTA clone, but I feel like this game does plenty to make it stand out just enough to make it have its own identity. It's not just another Mafia game. It does have like a really cool and interesting story that follows a cop trying to get into the triads and the mafias, which might not seem like super original, but this game plays it in a really cool way that's super engaging and interesting. The gameplay does seem familiar to any GTA players, but it adds just enough to make it, like I say, have its own identity. I think this game would absolutely benefit from a sequel, but with lots of studio things going on, if you read into it, Sleeping Dogs 2 is very unlikely, and it's very unfortunate, because I think Sleeping Dogs has tons of potential to become a cool new open world Mafia style game, kind of like Saints Row did over GTA, as it has its own identity and it does something cool and different with this with the genre. And I feel like Sleeping Dogs could totally do that, but unfortunately it doesn't seem very likely. And Sleeping Dogs is great for what it is, and is kind of a cool little cult classic classic that I feel like is totally worth checking out. So would I recommend Sleeping Dogs? Totally. If you're kind of at least curious about this game or like the open world style GTA games, I think this is one checking out. Like I said, it does just enough to make it its own thing, and I feel like it's totally worth respecting your time, and it does a great job of keeping you interested for the entire gameplay. I thought it was so much fun, and I really enjoyed my time with Sleeping Dogs. Hey, thank you so much for watching the video. Let me know down in the comments below, what did you think about Sleeping Dogs? And while you're down there, if you want to like, subscribe, and hit the bell to get notified every time I post a new video, that would be great. And if you want to see more of me, I'm over on Twitch at twitch.tv/agameforyourthoughts. I usually say I'm streaming there all the time, but it has been a while, and I am so sorry. But I would love to get back streaming again, but go over there and check me out. And once I get back going again, I will be there to come hang out with you. But that is it for me for today, so don't forget to have an awesome day, and that the key to success is succeeding, and we will see you guys next time on A Game for Your Thoughts.